Never-ending story. Yeah, and we're back in Farley's house. Last time we found the back entrance to Farley's house, and I think this will really open up a lot of new potential ways of playing and potential solving to be done. So I think we have more opportunities now, and we got some more backstory. This tape recorder here was telling us it had two sides. So we got some more story from Farley when she talked about how they came here and how everybody was abducted and what they planned to do when the forces struck and where everybody maybe went. Maybe everybody went up to the tower, I guess, where the circle is pointing. But she named Marley as a place where everybody went, and she went last, and CV stayed behind, and CV we have met. And on the other side, we heard the stories of everybody who came here and how they got abducted. And that was interesting. But I think we still have a lot of notes here that we haven't looked at. So let's go and look for some more stories. Here we have a notebook. See what's in here. Welcome to Hunrat. Please give us a bit of information about you so we can get to know you a little bit better. Name, date, you came from. Please use 4-digit year, where you came from, country and city, circumstance under which you were taken. Please note any dangers you noticed. Emptified and filed. Okay. And then we have 12,000, 13,000, and 15,000 AH. So we have Samuel Carson, January 2017. Mancana, Madagascar. Had just arrived and was driving my supply truck along the coast south of Manakara when I recall being washed away and the seed appeared. And then we have 15,257 male 61. And then we have Urzel Regonbogen, 1942, March, Lübeck, Germany. The last thing I recalled is a large rumbling while I was hiding in the cellar of a vacant building. I ran through towards the bright light and in a stairwell. 15,841 male 26. So I wonder what these numbers mean. Maria Gallego, 1988, Cozumel, Mexico. Oh, my boat and bad storm. On my boat and a bad storm. 16,023, female 46. And then we have Xiang Quegang, March of 2042, Portland, United States of America, skiing, Mount Hood, 16,717 male 37. And then we don't have any more in this book. So, and some of the earlier records were emptied and filed. So maybe we can find those too. See here, we don't have any more. Over here we have a lot of books, but nothing that stands out that we could look at. See here, we have more papers. I shall document the curious events that have transpired with myself, my family, friends, and co-workers. Harthwell was a peaceful mining town, founded by my grandfather and nestled within the red rock of the desert in the Arizona territory. It's 163 inhabitants heard a mighty explosion on the night of June the 27th of 1903. I sent several co-workers through the town to verify that the explosion had not caused any injuries or damages to the mining equipment. They returned and reported that it must have been a loud clap of thunder caused by daylighting, for they found no damage. It was not until the light of the next morning that we were amazed to realize. I always have a hard time reading that. Realize. Oh, amazed to realize something profound had indeed occurred. At some point during the night, until our entire mining facility and a large circle of the land around it seemed to have been scooped up and carried off to a completely different place, all without anyone knowing about it. So I guess that's where we are now. So we are in a mining town from 1903. Weird. Okay. It was 163 inhabitants. Could be good to have that number if we so require. And then we have this document. The entire landscape outside of the circle of desert could only be described as alien. Large floating rocks could be seen in the distance. No one had ever seen anything like it anywhere on Earth. We fully explored our new surroundings, hoping to find a way home. No way home was ever found. In fact, we soon discovered that we take for granted now. But not only could we not get back home, it also could not access the landscape outside of the desert. Curiously, we discovered that a flow of water was provided from the high point of a rock, and we discovered a small tree growing on the very center of the circle. Our central tree that is so important to our lives here was just a mere sapling back then. Okay, so these are some of the really early documents. I wonder why I can't seem to be clicking out of these documents easily. Species description: Mufang. Through ambassador seeds, the Mufang were the first non-human species humans were ever introduced to. And Liang was the first to call the alien a Mofang. Impressed with their advanced ability to imitate our sounds, movements, and mannerisms, although they have a name for themselves, their language is mostly unpronounceable by humans. As a result, and because of their mimicry abilities, communications with the Mofang is primarily accomplished by their learning human languages rather than humans learning to speak Mofang. They have been able to learn almost every human language represented in Hunrat, enough to provide functional, if rudimentary, communications. The Mofang basically external morphology is remarkably humanoid. Bilateral, symmetrical theropods, bipedal head with interior facial features, mouth, eyes, nostrils. Other external features include minimal body hair, a raised dorsal protrusions. Constitution is somewhat frail due apparently to their thin and lightweight internal structure, but internal investigation has not been possible. They have ample cranial space to amount for a substantial brain, and their intelligence is impressive as evidenced by their advanced technology. Okay, so there we have a Mofang. Ari! After a certain level of maturity and health of the tree, a passage opened at its base. This passage allowed contact with 2 additional species. The first contact was with the Ari. The first contact revealed the Ari to be a large beetle-like insects. We were unable to communicate directly with them in any way, but they appeared to have some rudimentary level of intelligence. It was Lorik Thok who first made the journey through the heart to Kaptar and named both the New World and the inhabitants. The Ari have 3 distinct variants that have come to be referred to as barnacle, beetle, and polyarch. Although their morphology is dramatically different from human, their internal systems, like all of our neighbors, are supported by similar atmospheric composition and basic nutrients. In their barnacle stage, the Ari are completely mobile. The Ari stay in its egg-like development state seamlessly, indefinitely. In order to hatch, they must be in proximity of an polyarch and fertilized by the beetles after a certain stage of maturity. The beetles are the eyes and ears, hands and feet, with only a minimal nervous system of their own. They are essentially the sensory extensions of the immobile polyarch. They are able to execute simple commands, but apparently have little in the way of individuality, sentience. So this should be this beetle then. Okay, the Ari polyarchs are the intelligence and conscience of the species. Although it was obvious there was intelligence behind the species, it wasn't until Caroline Farley began spending a large amount of time in close proximity that a deeper communication began. With a room nearby, Farley was the first to communicate non-verbally and learn much about the species, including some historical information. The Ari species survived in their world, while several other sentient species came and went. Among them, an ancient species who formed a deeper relationship with the Ari, craving temples and dwellings for them in the rocks, carving. And later, a more recent species that took over much of their homeworld. This later species was especially adept to mechanical construction, using mostly a capture and process large flying creatures, using the beetles as bait. Okay, so this is a polyarch, I guess. Villelane, a final species to be discovered where the Villelane had been communicating with the Ari for many years, though ambassador seeds, but became a part of the larger community very shortly after the Ari. With a large and imposing frame and a form of communication based on a complex, multi-voiced, low-frequency rumble, the initial introductions were intimidating. After several attempts, Amelie Vindal was able to begin some rudimentary communications and began visiting the Villelin in Marais, which she named on a regular basis. Marais was the place where everybody went, I remember from the tape recorder. She discovered a complex and amazing society that was able to use their technology in unexpected ways. They had the ability to quickly transform the world using extruded structures based on some sort of a complex miniature substrate material. Okay. Unlike the other worlds, the Villelin sphere is scoped out of a Villelin resettlement group that was preparing to set off into space to find a new homeworld. This was their way of life, to put themselves into stasis and shatter themselves through the stars. As mentioned previously, their appearance is imposing, standing about 9 feet tall with a distinct reptilian resemblance. They have 6 limbs, 2 muscular legs and arms, and a smaller set of arms. They control every aspect of their technology with their vocalizations, but over the years they have created a control panels based on their number system that allows other species to easier access elements of their technology. Okay, so this is a Villelin. Okay, a large brute. There were a lot of information on that pad. See if this pad is as full. Communication, talking with the neighbors. We take communication for granted even with the varied language we find here in Hunrath. But when we suddenly find ourselves among other intelligent species who don't share our culture, history, DNA, or vocal cords, it requires a huge amount of effort for the beginning of rudimentary chatting. This quick overview will set the stage for what to expect when communicating with our neighbors. Okay, Mofang. The Mofang were the first non-humans we met, with at least some level of similar physical vocal generating ability. They picked up human words quickly. This early mimicry resulted in what we, the species, became to be called. Even though they were able to mimic single words and simple phrases, it became evident over the years that huge grammatical differences were not easily overcome. Some have proposed that the difficulty may have arisen because the Mofang insisted on attempting to learn every human language, and as a result were able to lock on to any consistent grammatical structure. Nevertheless, in spite of the rudimentary sentence construction, it has been very easy to communicate, and it has been unnecessary for us to learn their language beyond a few simple phrases and proper names. If you like to learn more about communication with Mofang, please contact Tham. The Villain have presented a particular communication challenge. From what we can gather, they produce sounds using two large reed-like structures inside opposite sides of their heads. The vibrations generated are channeled to resonance chambers in their skulls, where they are combined into a complex low-frequency dual tone. The low-frequency bitonal sounds are not only hard for humans to hear and resolve, but impossible for us to mimic. And the Villain's hearing is also oriented towards low frequency, so they are unable to hear most of the sounds associated with human speech. Therefore, communication with the Villain has relied on technology. They have adapted consoles which the Villain frequently control with vocalization for use by other species. Over the years, some individuals of the species, including a few humans, have learned to communicate very efficiently using this method. Humans have been able to pick out some higher frequency characteristics of certain key Villain words over the years. And although we cannot speak to them in a way that the Villains can understand, we are occasionally able to hear and recognize these words when spoken distinctly by the Villain. If you'd like to learn more about communication with Villain, please contact Vito. And last, Ari. None of the stages of Ari morphology have any vocalization apparatus. Because of the obvious synchronization of the barnacle flash and the ability of pawns to provide for and address the needs of the polyarch, it was assumed that the species could communicate efficiently. It was not until Farley began spend a large amount of time with the polyarch antechamber that we first clued to this communication the first clues to this communication became evident. After months of research, Farley began to have a limited success of receiving some kind of simple messages that were coming from the polyarch. It is apparent now that the polyarch had been attempting to communicate the entire time, but they were themselves had been experimenting with various channels until they finally got a response from Farley. After this breakthrough, others were able to tune in to the polyarchs and learn to listen. Both the polyarchs and the pawns have a simple organ that can sense a human vocal frequency, enable them to sense simple responses from humans, but over the years Farley was able to learn to speak to the polyarchs via a related form of extrasensory transmission. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Ari, please contact Farley. Okay, so they are really hard to talk to. That's the consensus of that. See here. The last book. Seed information. Ambassador seeds. Ambassador seeds were the first documented about 100 Earth years ago. They occur about once every 400 days if the trees remain healthy. Natural seed swaps occur between pairs of seeds that we now know dropped simultaneously from healthy trees in paired sphere. In paired sphere? When each seed was touched by species in the sphere, the swap occurred, sending an ambassador from each sphere to the paired sphere. Okay. I wonder what that even means. So the tree will create a seed that is paired with another sphere. So I guess that is the device where we went over to the other land. That is I think that is another sphere then, and in those two spheres the seeds could be connected and swapped if they are ambassadors seeds. Location of the swap is defined by the locations of the pairs of seeds. After the first swap, the seeds recharged quickly, allowing for a quick return. First meetings were intense but naturally short. It was quite a surprise for both the Mofang and us. Over the time, the seeds required more time to recharge, producing a longer visits between species. Okay, so we travel through seeds. Depending on how long it has been, it takes longer for them to recharge. Okay. Collector seeds. Everyone, maybe those devices are the seeds. Seems a bit far-fetched. Or maybe they have seeds inside them that goes between the Mofang world and our world. Perhaps. Collector seeds. Everyone who arrives is familiar with the collector seeds. The bright light that we were all drawn to right before the event that brought us here is a collector seed. Okay, so that's the pinecone that came and fetched us. What new arrivals may not be aware of is that these seeds, like all seeds, come in pairs. When the tree drops a collector seed on the ground, it signals that its twin has begun its quest for a new being. That search may take hours or it may take years. When an appropriate situation, unnatural threat of death, ? Is found, the seed activates and swaps a smaller but varying sized sphere from Earth or wherever appropriate homeworld here to Hunrath. As Hunrath became more populated, we would watch for newly dropped collector seeds, collecting it and place it in the entry canyon area. This allowed us to provide a more predictable entry experience for new arrivals and provide a single area to collect any resources that may have come along with the new arriver. Okay. Unlike ambassador seeds and the mother seeds, collector seeds do not seem to survive. The inner core is spent, leaving only the lifeless outer husk. Mother seeds. Postulated by unverified, first suggested by Amelia Hamazan, 2032 BH. The notion of a mother seed extrapolates the behavior of the lesser seeds to a super seed. She postulated that the process that actually created the paired spheres was similar to all other swaps, but on a much grander scale. The idea is that two seeds from a mother tree were shattered on the galactic winds to find appropriately similar environments. When matches were found, some process was triggered that swapped large portions of landscapes between vastly different worlds. Amelia further noted that the twin trees' locations in the center of the sphere suggested that the trees grew from these mother seeds. Because of the similarities, it has been conjectured that re-swapping the entire environment spheres might be possible with a large-scale version of the ambassador seed machine. Okay. Now that was a lot of information at once. Let's see here. Yep, there's the place that I talked about. So perhaps everybody has gone up here. There we have a tree. Or perhaps we have a mother seed here. But the tree is in the middle. So that's interesting. Now let's see. Welcome. Thank you. And there we have a backer again. Backer reward item. Another reward item. Okay, see if we can open this door. Come on. Oh yes! This will change a lot. We can solve a few interesting questions. We can get over there. We can run over here and turn over the waterfall bridge to the other direction. Let's see here. And then I think we will end this video over here when we have turned this contraption. And then I will pick up in the next video on the other side when I have ran all the way around. So we will go over here, and then we must switch to propeller. Down. There we go. And we will flip the switch. There we go. So, thanks for watching. I really hope you like this episode. And if you want more content of this kind, please subscribe. This episode wasn't that much problem solving. We just had a lot of information to get through and read. But I will solve more puzzles in the next episode, or the next video. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.